A Sport Clips haircut makes any guy feel like his hair has its own walk-up music. Maybe you play sports. Maybe you play sports online. Whatever your sport is, check in online at sportclips.com/check-in and get your hair in the game.
This is the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
And Patrick Reed has won the 82nd Masters.
To win your first majors is never going to be easy. It definitely wasn't easy today. I knew it was going to be a dogfight, and it was just another one of those mini tests that I had to try to get over in order to win my first major.
Every time he needed to do something, he did it. Every time he made a bogey, he bounced back. There's a lot of people that are a little bit afraid of the moment. He loves the moment.
And we got one golf major in the books. Good Monday morning. Welcome in. Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Jordan Rodgers is here, as Mike Golic Jr. is here. I'm Trey Wingo. Now, Jordan, you're here. We're glad to have you. We Bachelor. Obviously, people know you from that in the SEC Network. So your resume is vast and interesting.
I just want to put that out there, though. Gojo, you got to call me Daddy today.
Oh, really? Because you're sitting in the daddy chair, you're in the daddy chair right there?
I'm automatically uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, listen, anytime you throw that extra DY on the end there, you get into dicey territory, but I think I can warm up to it. We've known each other for a long time now. I don't think there's any weirdness in that anymore.
Minute and 18 seconds into the show, and I'm already concerned. Exactly. Glad you're with us. We got a lot to get to today. First of all, the actual daddy, Golic, is not here because he's at the Monday after the Masters, which means, Junior, he's probably, 4 beers in already?
Yeah, I'm really worried about him. Like yesterday, we were already getting texts in our family group chat from him in that altered state that let me know that he forgot the actual tournament is there today. It's a great charity event that Darius Rucker and the rest of the guys from Hootie and the Blowfish put on down there every year, but the real meat of the drinking schedule is up today, and I don't know if he's got 2 days like that in him anymore. He's not a spring chicken. I mean, last year, damn near broke his elbow at this thing. He is not a young man anymore, and this is a young man's drinking tournament.
Well, look, a couple months ago, he almost threw out his shoulder walking a dog.
Yeah,
so
not good.
It's not a great start.
You start to drink, though, it loosens you up. You got one good day in you with a few drinks.
I hope so. My worry is he's trying to stack 2 in a row now in a way that difficult. I don't know if he's capable of anymore. So you wish him well. If you see him out there on the course, I would say throw him a beer, but maybe mix in a water for him. John Taffer always stressed the importance of spacing. He's going to need that
Alternate.
today.
Wait, who did what? What did you just say?
John Taffer from Bar Rescue always preached spacing, the idea of putting a water in between every beverage. Dad's not normally known for being a spacer. Maybe today he should change that narrative.
We were in New York once for sort of one of these promotional things before the show lunch, and that he basically said it. He goes, "Yeah, I don't really drink, but when I drink, I drink." I mean,
one speed.
He doesn't.
No, yes, that's it.
Is that run in the jeans?
Yeah, unfortunately,
I saw a few pictures on Twitter this week from a bar closing in your old alma mater's hometown.
Man, I tell you what,
somebody was on the table.
Really?
On the table,
I don't know why I'm surprised.
There was a poll involved there. Listen, Club Fever brought out the best of a lot of people in South
And you're
Bend.
worried about calling me daddy.
Yeah.
Now I'm worried. I'm worried.
The tables have turned, sir.
Actually, that's not the conversation these two would have at all, so you're completely different. But really, I think that one thing is right. Toby Keith said it best, and that may be your dad this weekend. I'm not as good as I once was, but I may be as good once as I ever was.
Amen.
Very good song. So lots to get into today, including what happened on the weekend at Augusta, some amazing things in Major League Baseball, both good and bad. Plus, we have a peace offering from Odell Beckham Jr. I did not see that coming. Let's get into all of that right now.
It's time for
Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not,
it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
All right, we start off the top with what happened Sunday at Augusta. Patrick Reed held off not only Rory, but Ricky and Jordan and everybody else, John Rahm, that tried to make a run at him and came through with his first career major victory, becoming the 9th first-time major winner in the last 10 majors. Reed finishes at 15 under par to take the green jacket.
Credit to Patrick Reed, but I'm more of a fan of winning the Masters, not losing the Masters. I was looking for some drama, and it just never came to.
Yeah, it did.
Wow. Strong take.
I mean, there was a little bit. It was like intrigue, and then it's just like, he's going to take it. Come on.
Well, I think it was one of those where we were looking for one of those other guys to come and take it from him, because I'm not sure Patrick Reed was the guy that everyone would have signed up to see. Now, this is a weekend where Tiger was the headline coming in, and as we went along, we found out, all right, that's not going to be the case. But when you've got Spieth, and when you've got Fowler, and you've got McIlroy all in contention on Sunday, somehow Patrick Reed in a lot of people's minds, and a lot of people in golf, I didn't realize how not liked this guy was in a lot of circles because of events in his past, because of the personality type that we've got here. But you had all those guys that I think people are much more inclined to want to see win fall just short, but still made, in my mind, for a really exciting finish on Sunday.
Look, at one point you thought, okay, this is match play when it's teed off between and
for the first few holes.
Yeah, between Reed and Rory. And then Rory almost makes that eagle on the second hole with an unbelievable second shot from 197 yards to 4 feet, somehow whiffs on the putt. By the way, that has been the bugaboo with Rory. It's not his driving, it's his putter. It's hot and cold. It was hot for the first 3 rounds, and it went cold on him on Sunday. There's no question about it. But when he didn't make it, then Jordan was 9 strokes back to start the day, and I think the biggest comeback ever was 8 strokes. And he got to within 1, and then he hits the tree on 18. I mean, been there, done that. But the idea when it's all set up, he's made this unbelievable charge, and he hits a tree. His drive went like 120 yards. Unbelievable.
He's sitting 30 yards back from the fairway, and I'm like, I know that position very well.
Yeah.
I'll tell you exactly what this should be. Can I be caddy on this one?
Yeah, we've all got that club in our bag right there, which is just hit it and pray at that point.
315 out. Second shot.
It was a brutal end for him and a brutal exhale. I'm with you. There was that point where you sort of finally went, oh, okay, we're not going to get this played out to the full extent we thought we were going to.
Well, it was really, in my opinion, McIlroy had the opportunity early on to get Reed going in the wrong direction, at least mentally. He missed putts on 2, 5, 8. I mean, he had so many chances with short putts to put the pressure on Reed, and Reed just had the round where he just had to hang on.
Well, look at much more on this a little bit later, but to that point, if he'd made that eagle on 2, things might have been a lot different just from a mental standpoint. We'll get to that a little bit later.
Off the top.
Then I don't think even the Angels thought it was going to be this good this early. Shohei Ohtani took a perfect game into the 7th inning before losing it on a single and finished with 12 strikeouts in 7 scoreless innings in the win over the A's. He's been as good as advertised as a pitcher as well as a hitter.
He can hit it. I mean, isn't that unbelievable? I start scratching my head. Why is this not more common for a pitcher to also be a good hitter? Is it that specialized?
Well, I think we've seen specialization sweep across all sports, and especially in baseball, where among the ranks of pitchers, we're not even getting guys that we're going to allow to go the distance anymore. We've gotten so many roles just inside of that one realm that expecting someone to go out and hit the same time just seems like a waste of time for this right now. And that being said, it makes it all the more special when you've got a guy doing something we haven't seen in damn near 100 years, 99 years, the first guy in the live ball era now to get 2 wins as a pitcher and hit 3 home runs in his team's first 10 games. So the unprecedented start after a drought in spring training that I think we now have to leave in the past.
But it is early.
It is early, but he's considering what he did in spring training, especially from a pitching perspective, and what he's done in his first 2 starts is remarkable. I mean, look, this is like someone being Chuck Bednarik today in the NFL, who, by the way, played center for the Philadelphia Eagles and then was their middle linebacker, went both ways. Just doesn't happen anymore. There's only been 3 people that have had 2 pitching wins and 3 home runs in the team's first 10 games. Shohei Ohtani in 2018. Of course, Jim Shaw with the Washington Senators in 1919. I think we all remember Monty Ward from 1883 in the New York Gothams. I mean, I think I had one of his trading cards.
How could we forget?
I mean, Monty and Jimmy and Shohei. That's the way it goes. By the way, Shohei's our guy.
I want you to Shohei the way.
And we'll be playing that incessantly.
I didn't know we did that.
Oh, yeah, you weren't here for that. Yeah. We have another one, too. We'll play it later.
Oh, wow. I'm told we have a full verse. This is terrifying.
Jerry Bear went long at one point. At some point, the long one is so bad it's good. You know those kind of situations? Kind of like you at the bar on Saturday night.
Kind of like me in most situations.
It's good. So long it's good. All
Off the top.
We continue as we try to get through the show. The Orioles beat the Yankees 8-7 in 12 innings as Giancarlo Stanton finished 0 for 7 with 5 strikeouts. 10 games into the season, Giancarlo has now made history. The first player in the live ball era with multiple games of no hits and 5 strikeouts in a season. It's the second week of baseball.
Yeah, pump your brakes. I mean, he didn't even have a game last year with 4 strikeouts. I mean, you know what? these things happen in baseball. You brought him in for a reason.
This thing has never happened before.
No, I know. But what I mean is you go through slumps, right? Yeah. You brought him in for a very specific reason. You brought him in to bring power, to hit home runs. Deal with the bad that goes with that. Like my softball game back when I played rec softball, it was a pop-out or a home run. But they took it.
You take it when it comes, and that's going to be the interesting part with this is, will we allow that to happen? Because with Shohei Ohtani and with Giancarlo Stanton, we've got both guys that a week through the season, we have tracked their every move. Mm-hmm. And you wonder, can you keep that kind of attention up with both of these? Because I don't know if you're able to appreciate the good or the bad or the real of their situations if we keep doing this. Because Ohtani is not going to keep up this heat. Stanton will probably be closer to this all year because it's been 2 homers in his first Yankee game, 0 for 5 in his first Yankee home game. Like, this is the boom or bust we've come to expect in modern baseball.
Well, the interesting thing perhaps going forward, I think Stanton's going to find his groove. I'm not concerned about that. I mean, he did hit 50-plus home runs last year. This is going to happen. He may be pressing a little bit, trying to validate the trade. And, you know, I've got Judge in front of me and Didi behind him. I mean, you're in the sweetest spot you could possibly be in a batting order. The bigger concern, if I'm a Yankees fan, is that bullpen. That bullpen has been a leaky faucet right now for Aaron Boone and company. And, oh, by the way, the Red Sox may never lose again. So that's the other issue going forward that the Yankees have to deal with more than Giancarlo. Twice, though, with the platinum sombrero, which has never happened before.
Off the top.
And then can I just say one more time, the city of Philadelphia, the Eagles say you're welcome. 76ers beat the Mavericks 109-97 to win their 14th straight game. Tied for the second longest win streak in franchise history, and Philly now has a 50-win season after winning just 10 games in 2015-2016.
For real, the Fresh Prince, right?
It's happening.
Ben Simmons.
It's all happening.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I saw that nickname. I'm like, how did this not come up before?
I know we've already had the process, and now to get the Fresh Prince involved in this. Philadelphia leading the league in a lot of things. Good. A lot of things right now. The Flyers made the playoffs too in the NHL, so it is about as good as it's been for a while. Philly fans hoping to keep the good time rolling as the Sixers. Apparently, that championship window is opening up faster than any of us could have anticipated.
Momentum, baby. Don't underestimate it.
Well, look, everything has been great since the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Villanova wins the national championship. The Sixers can't stop. You mentioned the Flyers. The only ding in that has been the Phillies. They're 3-5, and Jake Arrieta left with an injury, and everyone's questioning Gabe Kapler's managerial move. So it's literally working for everyone except the Phillies.
Wasn't that the only good point that we could find when we were talking about the Phillies the other day? And they have Jake Arrieta.
And they signed Jake Arrieta. Yeah.
And he's gone.
And we can't find anything good to talk about the Phillies. But Cliff is going to be okay with it. Cliff, our board op, he's all right because everything else is coming up roses for the city of Philadelphia since, of course, the Eagles went full Philly in the Super Bowl and took down the New England Patriots. Okay, that was off the top. Let's get a deeper dive into the Masters, which, by the way, we're probably going to be doing for a large portion of the show. Golic and Wingo with you this morning. Mike Golic Jr. is here, and Jordan Rodgers is in for Mike Golic, who's trying to maintain some semblance of sobriety. Now, who are we kidding?
Lies.
Not even close, playing in Darius Rucker's Monday after the Masters tournament. So it is the Monday after the Masters. Let me just throw this out to both of you first and foremost. The hype for this Masters was off the charts for a couple of reasons. One, Phil Mickelson won at the age of 47. Not only did he win, he won a World Golf Championship event, a very high-tier PGA Tour event. Tiger Woods was back and playing and relevant for the first time ever. This was his first major since the end of 2015. And, you know, the first time he competed in the Masters and played 4 rounds in a long, long time. They weren't there when it mattered. In fact, they were fighting out to be who would be one stroke before the other. But with everything else that was going on, did this Masters deliver for you guys?
I think in the end, to me, it missed a little bit. And that may be, you know what, Tiger Woods spoiled golf for me. And I think that's the honest truth. I grew up in the era as all these young golfers, as 4 of the major holders are all 27 or under, grew up watching Tiger Woods. I love dominance. I love somebody that on a Sunday dominates. We saw that with Jordan Spieth. We didn't really see that with Patrick Reed. Now, I'm not taking away from his performance by any means. He did everything he needed to do, but for me, I want to see dominance in golf, and I think that's when golf's at its best. And he did, yes, he dominated the par 5s, 13 under the first 3 days, pushing on that record of 15 under for the tournament, went even on that last Sunday on the par 5s, so he did just enough to win. To me, that kind of misses the mark. I would have been jumping out of my seat with a Jordan Spieth or a Ricky Fowler comeback from behind victory, and just didn't quite get it.
Yeah, I think it reminds me how much we prioritize finishes and late game heroics in almost any sport, because everyone started to get out of their chair because of Jordan Spieth going. It was at one point 9 under on Sunday for a little bit, ended up finishing 8 under, one of the best final rounds we've seen in a Masters. And it reminded me, it doesn't really matter to a lot of us what you do for the rest of the body of something as long as you can finish strong in this. And now it becomes interesting because, to your point, we don't have dominance, but we've got youth on the side of the sport in a way that I'm sure golf would sign up for. And you mentioned all 4 majors held by a player 27 or under for the first time since Tiger Woods held all 4 majors on his own under the age of 27. And so it shows you where we're at in a different place right now. And you wonder if this is what we're just going to have to accept going forward, is we're going to have a lot of compelling characters. Now can we manufacture that feeling? Can Patrick Reed, who we find out more and more now. I didn't know as much about Patrick Reed's past as maybe others did, but the fact that he's got a little edge to him, he's got a little villain.
He's a villain.
He's got some villain. Can he be the guy to balance the rest of those guys out? Because Spieth and McIlroy and the rest of these guys, for the most part, have been likable. They've been the Rat Pack. They're on vacation together. They're flying private and dating models. They're living the good life. Can he be the other guy?
The Baker Bay boys, yeah. Look, the other thing that's interesting in terms of golf, if you're an American, we have all 4. These guys are 27 or younger, by the way, and they're all Americans. So that hasn't happened since I think 03 and 04. That all 4 major holders are U.S. citizens. So I think that's putting golf in this country in a very good spot. But to your point about Sunday, there was this momentum wave, and at one point Jordan caught him. He did time and got it going, and I think the drive on 18 just took the air out of the building because, first of all, it wasn't a terrible shot. I mean, Jordan said after the round, it ticked like the last limb of that tree. But as soon as you saw that, you're like, okay, the idea of maybe a heroic birdie to force a playoff, that would be amazing. Instead, he had to try and scramble to maybe make one of the greatest pars of all time, and he came up just short. So then that kind of popped the balloon a little bit, right? And you're thinking, okay. And then Ricky comes through with the birdie, and at least, I will say this, when Ricky made the birdie on 18, at least it wasn't a cakewalk for Patrick Reed. I mean, he had to earn it. And I think that was the thing that I took away from this, because it is a totally different dynamic going to the tee on the 18th hole at a major with a 2-stroke lead as opposed to a 1-stroke lead. That is a totally different set of circumstances. And for Reed to be able to do that, that to me, Ricky's birdie on 18 made it a compelling watch through to the end. Because if he had made that birdie, I'm thinking I might be going, okay, well, congratulations, and we'll see what happens going forward.
Starting to get ready for WrestleMania early.
Sure, as I'm sure some people were. So I needed something to keep me on the 18th. And I thought when Ricky made that birdie, okay, because when Patrick got to the green on 18 and 2, and that's fine. And then he hit that first putt, and it went a little farther than he wanted. There was still something on the line with that last putt. To me, that made it okay.
Well, especially because we had just seen Jordan Spieth from maybe a little bit further miss that nearly identical putt. So I agree with you. The drama, isn't it amazing? And I kept trying to figure out within me why I didn't like Patrick Reed. Why am I rooting so hard against a guy that
Are you a Ryder Cup guy?
I mean, yes, absolutely.
Okay, see, I love him from the Ryder Cup. See, that's the thing. When I first saw that he was paired with Rory for the final round, the first thing I went back to was the 2016 Ryder Cup when they had that epic match back and forth where Rory, I think on the 7th or 8th hole, made a 40-footer for birdie and starts screaming at the crowd, "I can't hear you! I can't hear you!" And because he thinks he's won the hole, and then Patrick Reed drops in a 40-footer and just wags the finger right back at him. It was like WrestleMania. The Ryder Cup was like WrestleMania for 7 or 8 holes with those two guys going. So I knew that part of it, and I knew he had that edge. I guess a lot of people didn't really know that much about him, right?
No, I learned a bunch about him, and a lot of it is not what I think most people had in mind for a guy that, looked kind of like a jovial character. I think portly was the word I heard thrown around, and I say that affectionately as someone who has come from
Chunky,
very portly lineage.
Chunky is another way to look at it.
Yeah, but exactly. He doesn't look like the guy that would be as villainous, and he's out there wearing bright pink on Sunday. We know because Nike's not letting anyone wear that red that he had donned on Sunday, almost troll-like for a very long time.
Well, he did it because it was an homage to Tiger Woods. I mean, he's been doing that since he came onto the scene, really in 2014 as a professional golfer. But I will say this: we did get the drama you always want for at the Masters. Well, we always hear the Masters doesn't start till the back nine on Sunday. And quite frankly, that proved to be true again on Sunday because you're right, Jordan. It was sort of a back and forth, whatever, on the front side for Patrick Reed. He was just basically treading water. And then he admitted when he got to the back nine, he heard those roars that everyone else was hearing.
First, it was Jordan making a run. And then next thing you know, you hear a little cheer on 13, and you look up, and now Ricky has made a birdie. And now he's within 2. And then, when I was walking to 18T and I heard the big loud roar, I knew. I knew that, okay, well, Ricky just made birdie, and now you have to play 18.
And that was the point. To play 18. I mean, that's him basically saying, if I had a 2-stroke lead, there's no way I'm messing this thing up. I mean, you have to go full Van de Velde to mess up a 2-stroke lead at the Masters. For those that don't know, John Van de Velde, 1999 Open Championship at Carnoustie, where the Open will be this year, had a 3-stroke lead on the tee on the 72nd hole and somehow botched it, made a triple bogey, and ended up losing in a playoff to Paul Lawrie, who started the day 10 strokes back. That's how crazy it was. So anyway, congratulations to Patrick Reed. We'll get a lot more into his win a little bit later. But what about the guys that weren't there? Patrick Reed, by the way, protecting the lead is brought to you through the final round, and he did that he protected the lead, brought to you by ADT. We're going to have to start that one over again. Hey, Patrick Reed protected his lead through the final round and captured the green jacket. Boom! Protecting the lead is brought to you by ADT. Considering home security, consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. Visit ADT.com to learn more. Thank you, my friends at ADT.
Golic
and Wingo.
and Wingo.
Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. Golic and Wingo with you. Jordan Rodgers, Mike Golic Jr. and Trey Wingo here. Scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you about your dad right now?
I'd put it at probably a 7 right now.
Strong 7.
I'm counting on the veteran presence here taking hold. This is a guy that's seen a lot of long days like this.
Yes.
I just worry that at some point, even that savvy veteran experience kind of crumbles under the weight of your own breaking down body because he hit 50 and all those old playing injuries came back. Those are all a factor right now, and those all come into play, especially when you try and throw booze on top of the situation.
How is he a golfer? So,
drunk or sober, he's going to shoot mid-90s.
Yeah.
That's it. That's where he's going to be either way. And you talking about not taking yourself too seriously, that is him on the court. If it's not going well, he'll pick it up and keep moving for the sake of the greater good.
It's a war of attrition for him, though,
yes.
to make it through 18.
It's just a war more than anything else. It's him against himself, as it is for most of us when we play golf. But again, one of the things we're tracking today, I'm curious to see what the numbers will be for the Masters because the hype was off the charts. Look, the Masters is always going to be the highest rated of all 4 majors. It's just the way it is. It has a special place because it's the first. I think it feels like, hey, spring has finally come everywhere across the country. What the people always say at their club, pre-Masters rounds don't count. I mean, it doesn't really matter. We're just shaking off rust. We're getting through, but now that the Masters is fully here, you feel like you're fully immersed in the golf year. And I think for a lot of us, we got extra immersed in this Masters because not of the young guns out there, but because, as you alluded to on First and Last this morning, Junior, there was that little whiff in the air of nostalgia. You had Phil Mickelson winning at 47, a World Golf Championship, and then you had Tiger Woods being relevant. And why is that significant? Because when Tiger Woods is relevant, nothing else matters. It sucks all the air and all the eyeballs out of everywhere else it could go, and you put your eyes on Tiger. He finished at 1 over, was never really a factor in the tournament at all, but the fact that he was in the tournament and actually playing to Tiger, that was a significant victory.
Oh my God, it's I was alluding to it earlier that it's been a couple of years. I've just been coming here just to eat. And to now be able to play this golf course and to be able to tee it up and play in the Masters, this is, one of the greatest walks in all of golf. And I had missed it for the last couple of years. I hadn't been able to play in it. So to now go out there and compete in this tournament and face the challenges out there, I missed it. I really did. I miss playing out here. I miss competing against these guys. It's such a great event and the best run event in all of our sport.
Well, I think we can clearly say that the majority of golf fans and just Tiger fans in general missed seeing him out there doing it. So let me ask you guys this question because I have my own theories. Was he a disappointment? over these 4 days?
I don't think so. To me, I really don't even look at his final score, and it was great. And yeah, the nostalgia in me wanted him to be competing through the weekend. Once you found out that wasn't the case, to me, I started watching his swings because the last few comebacks for Tiger, it wasn't him. It was a harnessed, it was a careful swing. I saw a Tiger that looked healthy. After 4 back surgeries, I saw a guy that was letting it rip off the tee. And to me, that told me more, even with his putting struggles, even with struggling with his irons, that told me more about where he is moving forward than his score, than anything really, especially because of what he looked like and what a shadow of himself he looked like the past few times we've been excited about this quote-unquote comeback.
Yeah, it's nice to hear Tiger excited about all the right things, and to your point, I'm sure that's what he's going to take away as he continues to stack rounds where we don't see him doubled over in pain on the side of a tee box. The problem is that the rest of us jumped ahead of that. And this is what I wanted to guard against at the beginning. The first time we saw Tiger come back was, let's keep it the focus there on how the swing looks, on what the development is for this guy coming back. Not, all right, we've gotten monster ratings for a couple of the tournaments that he's been in contention for on Sunday. Let's expect that to translate to the Masters, because I feel like that's where we're at, and it can't help from that perception, from that level of expectation, to feel like a bit of air got let out of the balloon.
I think we all jumped the gun.
Yes.
And raising both hands here. Guilty as charged.
Added a few too many files to the folder, huh?
Correct. The Tiger folder stays the way it is. Nothing has been added there because he didn't win. But, you know, we had Brandel Chambly on, who, by the way, joined us a little bit later on the show, after he competed at the Honda and came in, I think, tied for 5th. And we asked Brandel, hey, when do you think you'll win again? He said the next tournament out there. So it wasn't just us. It was guys that supposed to know a lot more than us had us thinking, Tiger.
Oh, he looked good.
Yeah, I got a Tiger folder, okay? Tiger Woods, yo. So we were all in on the train, and the ratings were all in on the train. The Valspar, which, by the way, is a fine event and great paint. If you're going to paint the house, use Valspar. It's wonderful. But they had a rating for the final round on Sunday when Tiger was in contention that was higher than the final Sunday of 3 of the 4 majors last year. The only one it didn't top was the Masters, because, as we said, the Masters every year peaks it. So I think we all bought into it too, because we wanted it to be true. I think the one who nailed it was Curtis Strange. Curtis was asked before, who, by the way, will join us in about an hour, was asked before the Masters began, hey, what's a reasonable expectation for Tiger? And he said a top 10 would be miraculous. And you know what? He was right, because it's there's golf, there's competitive golf, there's tour golf, and then there's championship golf. And Tiger had not been in a venue. I don't care how many times you've done it before. If you haven't been in an arena like that for a long, long time, it is a different dynamic. And I think we saw over the 4 days with Tiger that the idea of competing at a championship level is still a little bit away from him.
Jordan, I'm interested in this question because I was thinking about this morning as it relates to Tiger and how much he still means to us. Because I'm with you. I came up in a time period where in Major League Baseball, it was the home run races. It was all of those big, compelling characters. Guys like Barry Bonds that were so great that you couldn't ignore them, but personality-wise, you weren't always a fan of either. And I feel like that was what Tiger offered us, is the best of a little bit of both of those. And so my question is now, how much is he worth to us? Would you take, as a golf fan, if you're the game of golf in general, one more Tiger Woods major, just one more moment to see him get over the mountaintop? Or would you rather finally see Jordan Spieth or Ricky Fowler or one of these guys rattle off 3 or 4 majors in a 2-year span to really start to take hold, that dominance? Would you rather have, or we would rather have, new dominance or just one more peek back at what was with Tiger Woods? Because I'm not sure the answer still isn't Tiger.
Yeah, I think if you asked me Thursday, I'd say Tiger. I think now, going through this weekend, and this is what, the 3rd, 4th time that I've been excited over the past 5-6 years about Tiger being Tiger again, I'm past it. I'm over it, because right now, I think it's bad for golf. I really do, because people like you and me sit here and we want this to be Tiger Woods. We want to see that dominance, and we miss a Patrick Reed performance where I was scoffing at it earlier. I'm trying to figure out if I even like the guy. I can't even appreciate a Masters win by a guy that did everything he should have, because I'm still nostalgic about how Tiger dominated his comebacks, the Mamba mentality, to throw a Kobe reference out there. And it's ruining golf for me. And I think it's ruining golf for a lot of people. So, yeah, Thursday, I would have loved to see it. But after a weekend, I'm happy to see Tiger compete. I'm happy that he can compete and be comfortable. I'm happy that he was healthy or looks healthy. It'll be soon to see. But I don't think it's great for golf, and it's not great for me as a golf fan.
Well, I would tell you the sponsors think it's great for golf.
Everyone lines their pockets.
Every other player on tour is very happy that Tiger's out there because they all have nicer houses and nicer cars and nicer annuities and nicer retirements.
But when do we stop? When do we stop thinking that Tiger's going to come back? And
those are separate things.
Yeah.
Those are separate things. I mean, look, golf is in the position where people can make money the way they're making money because of Tiger. I don't know if Tiger's ever going to come back. Because let's be honest, we always say, oh, who's the next Tiger? Well, there may not be a next Tiger. I mean, look, as good as Jordan Spieth is and as good as Rory McIlroy can be and as good as maybe Dustin, they're never going to be what Tiger was. They're never going to be it. Now, 25 years from now, there may be a guy like that, but none of these guys are ever going to be that good. The only one that has a chance is Jordan Spieth because he has a chance to win as many majors at the age of 25 that only Jack and Tiger have done. But even if Jordan Spieth competes, to your point, Junior, even if Jordan competes on the same level as Tiger, on that level of excellence on the course, he's never going to be that same figure that Tiger was. I mean, when Tiger came on the scene, first of all, his first press conference, hello world, when he stepped onto the Milwaukee Open in 1996. And then when he didn't win the Pebble Beach, it was AT&T back then, it might still be, he said, look, second sucks and third is worst. Okay? And then Curtis Strange said he'll learn. No. We all learned. We all learned that this guy had a different set of expectations and a different dynamic that set us in a different course. So I'm all in for seeing anything that gives me that whiff one more time.
I was going to say, Trey, did you just get a little misty-eyed over there? I thought I saw a glimmer of a tear up there as you talked about Tiger of yesteryear.
It's people keep looking for it to happen again. It may never happen again. He made 143 straight cuts. Think about that. 143 straight cuts. Some guys try and go 6 times without making the cut, and they're the best in the world at what they do.
Golic.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night, no doubt about it.
And Wingo.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Next. You're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie. This does look fun. Whee-oh! You melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
All right, Golic and Wingo here with you on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. It's time now for some serious Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Well, boys, we've had a good old standoff since the end of last season, really, between the best player on a team and the team. And that would be Odell Beckham Jr. and the New York Football Giants. Adam Schefter, we had in here last week, even with the trade that sent Brandon Cooks from New England to the Rams, says the Giants are still willing to open to trade Odell Beckham Jr. if they get their price. GM Dave Gettleman and owner and president John Mara have made it very clear, as they did at the owners' meetings last week, that they are tired of the dealings that they have to put up with Odell Beckham Jr., and they just want him to understand what's expected of him. And Odell Beckham Jr., guys, had been very strong in his stance that, hey, till I get my new contract, you're not going to see me in any way, shape, or form. Well, guess what? As we continue here with Jordan Rodgers and Mike Golic Jr., Odell Beckham Jr. is going to show up on Monday for off-season workouts. Are either of you surprised that he's going to be making that move?
No, I'm not. If it's Cleveland, yes. If it's Green Bay, yes. You tell me you got to go to New York and go to get a workout in at the facility? These are voluntary workouts. You're going to go in, lift a couple weights, going to do some biceps, right? He's probably been hanging out in L.A. You get to go to New York. I mean, come on. It's not that. I mean, I would, we would, and different positions. I mean, especially where I came from, voluntary was a word used in air quotes in the way that I came into the NFL. But for Odell Beckham Jr., a guy who we know missed the large majority of this time last season in this area, this feels a little more calculated because all this offseason we heard a lot of noise from management talking about Odell and not much from him. So for him to show up, not really say anything other than I'm going to be here, excited to meet Pat Shurmur and this new regime, it seems to be him saying, all right, I want to be here, or at least showing that without saying it. Ball's in your guys' court again. And also, I don't want to be the villain here. A lot of times we paint the person, taking the hard stance as a villain. Oftentimes that's the player, even though you would do the same thing and it's in your best interest. So it's a good first move a little PR move, I think.
Well, to your point about being the villain, he's had no problems presenting himself as that until this move where he's showing up for the off-season workouts. Here was the way it was described to Josina Anderson about why Odell is doing what he's doing.
He actually was in a very good place, very optimistic about the future, despite the fact that the long-term contract is not resolved, despite the fact that there was a regrettable incident that happened overseas. And the reason for that is because he had talked to Gettleman, he had talked to Shurmur. They had helped to allay some of his concerns, particularly when they started and were hired with the regime. And in addition to that, he's so excited about working with Shurmur. He talks about that all the time in our various conversations, particularly because he feels like his talent has not been maximized to this point. He's always like, you see me doing those 7 and 10 yard slants, I'm turning it into 70-yard plays. He just feels like he can be used better.
There's a lot to get into there, and we're going to do that now, because I would ask anyone who's seen Odell Beckham Jr. play over the last 4 years, how has he been underutilized? Are they not throwing him the ball? So I think we need to peel back the onion there a little bit on what Odell's people are telling Josina, because this sounds much more like, hey, maybe I realized that you guys were serious about some of this stuff, and maybe I want it to work here, so maybe I need to make the first step. Because I would challenge anyone to say, how are they not using him enough? When has he not been getting the ball enough? When he was with the Giants.
Well, maybe, I don't even know if it's about enough or if it's about how, to his point. And that would be something we would have to go back and take a much deeper look at and say, what kind of routes is he majoring on all these different things? Because I'm sure there's part of him that looks at Pat Shurmur and the offense he came from in Minnesota and says, man, you made those two guys stars out there, and Thielen and Diggs, guys who are half as talented as I am in that offense. All right, game on for what we can accomplish here. Game on for what I think I'm capable of in an offense like that took as many deep shots as they did. You know I've got that juice and then some, so there might be some genuine excitement about the pairing.
Yeah, I just think it's naive to think or have someone tell you that you're not getting utilized when you're possibly the best talent in the NFL. You have a multi-Super Bowl winning quarterback. You think you're not being utilized? Go hang out in Cleveland for a little while and tell me how you're going to be utilized. You have, and I get it. I think top down with McAdoo, there was a lot of problems. I do think Shurmur is going to breathe some life into there, but these are all NFL coaches. When they sit down behind closed doors, their job is to get the best players the ball, and you have a quarterback that can do so. Get out of here with that. I don't buy it.
Let me put it this way. Pat Shurmur has been the head coach of the Giants for what? 2 months now? 2.5 months? And he hasn't been excited about working with Pat Shurmur until apparently he's coming to this offseason workout. So suddenly something changed to him be a little more excited about working with Pat Shurmur. What could that possibly have been?
Golic and Wingo.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold. It's very interesting where that went.
Brian Windhorst joining us now. Brian, thanks for being with us. First and foremost, how much are you buying into the Sixers and what they've been able to do and sort of create an aura around this team with a 14-game winning streak and now a 50-win season after what was the process has turned into potential?
Trey, it's a really fair question, especially because they haven't missed a step since losing Embiid, who a lot of people believe is still their best player, although Ben Simmons has been phenomenal. They have continued to win and continue to win playing their style. And they are a big mystery because, number one, they don't have much playoff experience on their roster. And that always shows up in the postseason. But they've also been able to be so flexible without Embiid, and they play elite-level defense. They've been the number one defensive team in the league since January 1st. They have all kinds of length. They have the recipe for what you would expect for a team that would be successful in the postseason, and they're playing their best basketball. My experience tells me that their experience will matter, but I also am sitting here saying the steal sign is being shown in the Eastern Conference. Could they be the one to do it? I'm going to wait and watch.
Well, it is fascinating, Brian, because sometimes what you don't know can be just as important as what you do know. Because if you've been around for a while, you start thinking about things in a different way. When you're a young team that, hey, let's just let it all hang out there and see how it shakes, sometimes the victory for the uncluttered mind can be the best possible thing.
Yeah, and I don't want to overreact to any single regular season game, but that victory over the Cavs, which knocked them into the side of the bracket where they're going to play a lesser team in the first round. They might have gotten India, and they still have to win their last two games, but if they do, they get a lesser first-round team than Indiana, who's playing very well. Then they're on the same side of the bracket as the Celtics, who are just, they're gutty and they're gritty. They just lost to the Hawks at home yesterday. They're a shell of what there should be. I don't want to say it's a bye, but going on the other side of the bracket and having to deal with the Raptors and the Pacers, much more difficult. And so in addition to the fact that I've been very impressed with the way they're playing, they have manufactured and with some fortune smiling on them after years of bad fortune, they have guaranteed themselves the easiest setup. Well, they haven't guaranteed it. They got to get there. They got to win the last two. But if they win these last two games, they have set themselves up with the best path to the finals of any team in the NBA. And for a team that's the hottest team in the league with the best path, you have to pay attention to that, and I certainly am.
And that, Brian, brings up a really fascinating question. How much credit should Sam Hinkie get for this by setting this whole process in motion? I get it. So many people don't want to talk about trying to lose for 3 or 4 straight seasons, but it certainly looks like the end result is beginning to pay off here.
Well, I mean, I think when you look at something that's constructed, everybody who's had their hand on it gets some credit. When you look at the Sixers team, they have tremendous length on their roster. Maybe one of the most daunting things I've ever seen. I mean, they have a 6'10" guy playing point guard who's elite level defensively, and you look down who they play, and all they have is long-armed, athletic guys. They are the team that is built for the future of the NBA. Where I think Hinkie gets the credit, maybe more than what this team is constructed is now, is what happens next. Because they have this trove of assets, because they have this they have so many guys on good contracts, they are in position to make a major trade if they want and to sign a major free agent without disrupting their team or going into the luxury tax. That's where Sam Hinkie's work is really going to pay off, is where they can step to the next level. Because even now, as well as they've played, they're still not a top 5 NBA team. Maybe I'll change my mind on that when we get to the conference finals if they're there. They haven't quite proven that they're there yet, but they are as upwardly mobile as any team in the league, and that's because of how he's stored assets and swallowed all those losses for years. And that's why, regardless of what happens, Trey, between now and June 20th, or when the finals are over, the 76ers are going to be perhaps the most interesting team to watch in around the draft and in July because of what they have in their cupboard, and that's due to Sam Hinkie.
Let's jump over to the West with the injuries that the Warriors have sustained. And even when KD's at his best, lighting it up, it seems like it's not translating to the wins. Are the Rockets the team to beat in the West? Is it too early to say that?
You know, Jordan, I feel like the Warriors and the Cavs, it's kind of like a contractor who's in the middle of redoing your kitchen. You walk in midway through and you're like, oh, my God, there's beams laying on the ground. This isn't going to fit. But you're like, wait a minute, I remember I've seen this work this contractor's done, and I remember the plans. And you sort of say, I guess it'll happen on time, and you hope. And because when I look at the Cavs and the Warriors, I see both teams that still have all the ingredients that it takes. But I can shoot holes all the way through. I can make a legitimate case for why the Cavs are going out in the second round. I can make a legitimate case for why this Warriors team has shown all sorts of signs of wiggling from their mountaintop because of their injuries and their lack of focus. But at the end of the day, I honestly believe that they're both going to carry the water. And if they don't get another major injury, I still believe Steph Curry will be a tremendous factor on this postseason. I still believe that the Warriors can play defense at a very high level when they want to. Even last night, there were certain possessions in the game against the Suns. I know it's a game against the worst team in the league, where Draymond Green was back to playing the type of defense that won him Defensive Player of the Year a year ago. So I can't sit here and tell you, like I'm standing in the middle of my halfway redone kitchen, that it's all going to be fine. But history is on their side, and I'm more inclined to go with a team that's done it and is going to have their full team when it matters.
Brian Windhorst, our ESPN NBA insider, with us on Golic and Wingo this morning. So when push comes to shove, you're all in on a fourth straight Warriors-Cavs final.
Yeah, I don't feel great about it, because I look at the Rockets and I look at the 76ers and I say, my God, are these great teams? And some of the things the Raptors have done this year have been impressive. But at the end of the day, I have immense respect for what LeBron does, and I have immense respect for the Warriors, who, when they're healthy, have 2 MVPs on their roster. And my experience pulls me towards believing those 2 teams are going to be there at the end. But what I think we're going to get, remember, last year the Cavs went 12-1 in the East playoffs. Snooze fest. Warriors went 12-0 in the West playoffs. Snooze fest. Right. What I think we're going to get, I hope at least, is several rounds of great playoff basketball where the favorites are going to be tested and maybe even beaten. And I think for the game, I think no matter what happens, that's probably going to be good.
Brian, I agree. It was just a race to get to what we all knew was going to happen last year. So then the question becomes, okay, what is more of a concern to you for these 2 teams? Is it the relative health of the Warriors, who continue to the war of attrition, playing all these games all these years in a row, no matter what sport it is, it can wear you down. So is it the health of the Warriors or the uncertainty of what Cavs team are we going to see game in and game out? Which one is more of a concern for you?
I think the most important thing for the Warriors is the health of Steph Curry. I've been filling out my awards ballot this weekend. I'm putting Steph Curry on the second-team All-NBA, even though he only, I think, is going to end up playing 51 games, because he played at such a high level. And if he comes back and plays at that same level, they're going to be the best team again. That's an if. I have to see it. Over in Cleveland, the Cavs, when they want to be, are a halfway decent defensive team. And when they don't want to be, are one of the worst defensive teams I've ever seen on a team with a winning record. And so to me, it's going to come down to, can the Cavs lift their finger to play defense when it matters? And can Steph Curry come back? If those 2 things happen, I think we'll see a 4th straight finals. But there is a wide variance there. And my eyes are wide open on the Rockets and 76ers for sure.
ESPN NBA insider Brian Windhorst with us. I'm glad you used the phrase "as I'm filling out my awards bracket," because I got into sort of an interesting debate and discussion with some of the people here, how it seemed like sometime in January we all just sort of ceded, oh yeah, the MVP is going to go to James Harden this year. And quite frankly, he's having an unbelievable season, just like he did last year. You could have given him the MVP last year and I wouldn't have had a problem with it. You could give him the MVP this year, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But it seems like we sort of ceded the argument without the season being over. Could you make a very, very legitimate case that LeBron James, with everything that's gone on around him, he's played in every game, he's 33 years old, the numbers and the percentage of what he does for his team is just as significant, if not more significant, and that's more valuable to his team than anything Harden has done for the Rockets?
So, Trey, I've been grappling with this, and I've been talking to some people that I trust and some experienced people. I haven't made up my mind yet, and one of the reasons is this, is because when I make a vote for MVP, I take it very seriously. And I really take the All-NBA team very seriously, too, because that determines contract values for players. I want to be on the right side of history with MVP votes. And maybe I'm, an optimist and a cockeyed fool, but I want to be able 10 years from now to be able to defend the vote. I still, to this day, defend my vote of Steve Nash over Shaquille O'Neal back in 2006, and I feel that I made the right vote because I feel like Steve Nash changed the way the NBA was played. No offense to Shaq. My sense of history is the alarm bells ringing here because what LeBron has done at age 33 and carried this team, and the way he's playing, and the fact that he's going to have a chance to run down Michael Jordan in the conversation. In 10 years, am I going to regret if I go with James Harden now? The answer is I might, and that's a serious consideration for me. Beyond, I mean, you can make statistical cases for both sides. Trust me, they're out there. You can go find them, and if you want to create a paper, you could turn in a paper that defends either one based on stats. I'm going to push the stats aside and just based on what I'm seeing. I've also never seen anybody dominate several aspects of the game the way James Harden is this year. He's playing a level offensively, especially in an isolation offense, that maybe the NBA has never seen. And his proficiency at dominating on that level is maybe as high as LeBron's ever has been in any aspect. So I'm really struggling here with how to put the sense of history in it and how to put what James Harden has done. The thing about it is that it is not a historical award. It is not a career body of work award. Ultimately, when you submit your vote for the 2017-18 season, and that season runs from October all the way through April. And what happens in January and what happens in November is just as important in that body in a lot of ways as March and April. And so because of that, I do believe that the entire season, the 6-month season, James Harden has the edge on LeBron. And I'm probably going to end up going that direction, but I have been concerned about the history. And if LeBron walks away from this game with only 4 MVPs, and yet I felt like he was the best player year after year for 10 years, I don't know how I feel about that.
So when do you have to have your vote in? When do you need to make your decision by?
Well, technically by Wednesday, but I'm going to tell you that the NBA is going to start rattling our chain by this afternoon. And I'm not one of these guys who likes to turn it in early. For example, 2 weeks ago, Trey, I kind of was making a case for Donovan Mitchell over Ben Simmons for Rookie of the Year because Ben Simmons got a development year last year. I was having trouble breaking the tie,
right,
and I was leaning towards Donovan Mitchell. Then Ben Simmons has had an incredible finish without Joel Embiid, and now I'm going with Ben Simmons. So I do care about these kind of things, and I take it seriously. And Coach of the Year ballot, for example, is very difficult to figure out, and you may want to see where some of these teams finish. We still have a lot of liquidity in the standings. But the NBA will be rattling the chain for me today. About 4 o'clock, I'll get an email saying, hey, by the way, your ballot's due.
All right, well, we need you to tell us on this show when you decide that vote, who that vote is getting to. That has to happen, Windy.
We can negotiate that.
Everything's negotiable. By the way, I'd just like to throw out Russell Westbrook is 34 rebounds shy in his last 2 games of having a second straight year with averaging a triple-double, which has never happened before in NBA history, and he's not even being part of the consideration really for MVP again this year. Brian, we appreciate you being with us, man. I look forward to hearing how this shakes out in your mind.
Thanks, Trey. Have a good week.
Golic and Wingo.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
Buster, let's start with what isn't working for Giancarlo Stanton. A double platinum sombrero. That has never happened before in a single season, and it's happened 10 games in. 5 strikeouts, no hits. It's happened twice. What is going on?
Yeah, and it's good to see you class up your show with the Vanderbilt guy.
There you go.
There we go.
Now, there's no doubt about it that he's putting too much pressure on himself. He's putting a ton of pressure on himself. ESPN Stats and Information sent out a great packet overnight about all the big stars that have come to the Yankees in the past, the Reggie Jackson, Alex Rodriguez, Jason Giambi, and there is a recurring theme. When they get there at the outset, they struggle because they know how much the fans want them to do well. They feel the pressure, and it reflects in their swings. Another number that really jumped out at me this morning in looking at some of the stuff that was sent out is that he has struggled on fastballs. You've got a guy who does so much damage on fastballs. The fact that that's the pitch that is perplexing him right now tells you it's just a matter of him just calming down, of having some success, of having some ease, because all this is a big adjustment. You know, some of the writers who covered him down in Miami wondered, how is he going to deal the first time when he goes through a stretch like this, when he's got 20 idiots like me who are wanting to talk to him and have him break down his swing and all the problems that he's having. And I think we're seeing it, and I think it's going to take some time for him to settle in.
Well, that's the interesting thing here, because you look at not only is it fastballs that he's missing with, Buster, but his fastball's around the heart of that lineup where he's protected on either side. So that clearly tells you it's just a matter of pressing at this point, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly what Aaron Boone said. And, I mean, he struggled to the point that we saw Buck Showalter intentionally walk Aaron Judge to get to him because he could see how much he's pressing. And I do wonder, guys, just, the first time in watching him play, having heard through the years from so many right-handed hitters about, wow, when you go to Fenway Park and you see the green monster, you find yourself trying to aim at it, and it kind of messes you up. In these first games he's playing for the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, it's almost like he's trying to aim the ball toward that short porch in right field. Right. And you wonder how much of an impact that's having on him as well.
Well, what's a bigger concern for you, Buster, right now? Is it the Giancarlo Stanton slump, or is it the bullpen, which has really been a problem for Aaron Boone so far for the Yankees?
I would say the bullpen, and it's because of the volatility of bullpens. Look, we came into the year thinking the Yankees are the best bullpen in baseball. There are probably 29 other teams who would love to trade for the arms, but the other day I was talking with Mike Rizzo, the general manager of the Nationals, and he goes, boy, if you can predict relievers, let me know. Because they tend to go up and down year to year. Tommy Kahnle, was moved by the Yankees at the beginning of his career because of his command issues. Last year, became an all-star caliber reliever for the White Sox. They trade for him. He's down. David Robertson has struggled. Dellin Betances, with some of the stuff that he's going through with his command at the end of last year. They have to get him right, but at this point, they probably are concerned about it.
Buster, from a hot start by Ohtani, you said you think that Stanton's going to turn things around. Is Ohtani's start, is that sustainable? I mean, nobody can hit his splitter right now. 13 Ks, 0 for 19 batters against his splitter. Is his success sustainable? As you just said, you think Stanton is going to come back around?
Yeah, and there was a great tweet I saw last night in which someone pointed out that so far this season, Shohei Ohtani has more home runs than Aaron Judge and more strikeouts than Max Scherzer. So I'd say probably not. I guess it's probably not sustainable. But I think he's put to rest all those concerns about him in spring training when writers were wondering if he was going to be sent to the minor leagues. Privately, from Mike Trout to Billy Epler, their general manager, Mike Socha, they're all saying, look, we believe in this guy's talent. We think he's going to be fine moving forward. And that's what we've seen as soon as the season started. He got settled in. That splitter that he has, unbelievable. Hitters 0 for 19 against that pitch and the power. And Trout talked about that the first time after he took batting practice with him. He said, you have to remind yourself when you see this guy driving the ball 450 feet, oh, yeah, he also throws 101 miles per hour. Third highest average fastball velocity so far this year in the big leagues.
And so that's the thing, Buster, does he have enough variability in his pitches to not get figured out? We see pitchers that come in with a huge curveball and they're great for a year or two, and then hitters start to figure that out. Does he have enough of the fastball and the splitter to stay sustainable for many years?
Jordan, no doubt about it. I mean, that's one of the great things about him is that he's got actually a great breaking ball. We're seeing how hitters are struggling with that splitter, and to have a fastball and to have that variation in speeds between his off-speed stuff and his fastball gives him a great chance. And remember, he's only 23 years old. He's still learning the league. He's still learning how to pitch.
Buster Olney with us, the Baseball Tonight podcast, part of our Sunday Night Baseball crew as well. So what's been more impressive to you, the way he's been pitching or the way he's been hitting?
The way he's been hitting, to be honest with you, because there was no doubt among teams that were interested. And, let's face it, all 30 teams would have loved to have had him. But there was no doubt in the minds of a lot of evaluators that he was going to be an elite-level starting pitcher. The question, I think, was about him offensively, especially with the regimen that he has, where he has a start on one day, and then he has a day off, and then he moves into a DH role, then he has another day off, then he makes a start, especially coming over to Major League Baseball, learning a new set of pitchers. I think there was some question about, okay, what are the adjustments that he's going to have to make? Is he going to be able to do that? And we still, to Jordan's point, you're going to see some adjustments from pitchers, and they try to find holes. He is sort of that classic, kill the ball in the lower half of the strike zone. I'm sure he's going to see a lot of stuff in the upper half of the strike zone moving forward as pitchers try to find his weakness. But at the outset, to see the power right away, remarkable. The other day, guys, after he hit his third home run, he was facing Liam Hendricks of the Athletics. The bases were loaded. The count was 2-0. And typically with a rookie player like Ohtani, you see the pitcher rear back and say, okay, show me you can hit a fastball. He bounced a breaking ball in the dirt to go to 3-0 and walked him rather than challenge him with a fastball. That's some serious respect.
Yeah, it certainly is. Buster Olney with us again. So here's the question. The Red Sox started this season doing something they didn't do all of last year, blowing a lead of 4 or more runs. Didn't happen one time last year. They haven't lost yet. Are the Red Sox ever going to lose again?
I'm guessing they'll probably come down to earth to some degree. And today, a lot of concern about Xander Bogaerts, who, in making a play yesterday, slid into the dugout, and so they're going to get an MRI on him, and he's been swinging the bat so well. But the fact that David Price, and staying with the Vanderbilt team, has come out this year, has come out this year throwing as well as he has, is a great sign. Because if you can start out with your rotation with a Chris Sale and a David Price Cy Young caliber like we've seen in his first 2 starts this year, that's a pretty good rotation, and that's pretty daunting for the other teams in the American League.
Well, it certainly is, but then there's another team we have to talk about off to a hot start, and that's the New York Mets at 7-1. You saw them last night on Sunday Night Baseball. What's been the most impressive thing about the Mets so far, according to you?
Man, how much fun they're having.
Right.
And Mickey Callaway, their manager, has made a significant difference. Coming over from the Cleveland Indians where he'd been a pitching coach. This is someone who hasn't managed before. And we got a taste of his level of confidence over the weekend when we asked him about his adjustment to managing after not having done that before. And he told us a story. And you don't tell these types of stories unless you're pretty self-assured. Told us a story about the first time he dealt with a pitcher who had an injury on the mound, where he goes out and he decides he's making a change. You're calling on a reliever because of an injury, and he starts to walk off the mound with his pitching coach, Dave Island. And Island turns to him and said, Skip, you might want to stay and actually hand the ball to the pitcher coming in. Oh, yeah, that's right. I got to do that in my new job. The players talk about how much fun they're having. You're seeing a difference in everyone from Matt Harvey to Yoenis Cespedes and how they're buying in. And there's no doubt that the series against the Nationals was a statement series for the Mets as they try to run down Washington.
Well, look, I always say it's always fun when you're winning. And then some of those quirky things when you're not winning, that's certainly the reason you're not winning. So everything has to have a little perspective on it. Buster, we appreciate you getting up with us early this morning. Good stuff.
Okay, guys, take care.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. You can listen or subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or just ask your smart speaker to play Golic and Wingo. Plus, you can check the guys out live weekday mornings from 6 to 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN News.
Next, you're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie. This does look fun. Whee-oh! You melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.